when saw this today's theme, my wife, who was over my shoulder, she's always been there, 46 years, never left she said, old friends, does it mean friends who are old or old friends? You know, she has reason to ask that because at 84, you make wonderful new old friends in ER and ICU. You have these conversations about what are you here for, my dear? Breathlessness, and so I have to get oxygen, she has to get, etc. So we have made, so she said, nah, they can't mean that. They do mean old friends, like before you were born, you have a lot of them. And actually, between you and me, she was one of the two old friends. This is plural. I wanted to talk about her. But she can read my minds as I can read lips, those lips that I like. She said, don't you dare. So I'm not going to talk about her, okay? Please, if you meet her, tell her I didn't talk about her. But this second friend was long time ago, long before her even, not a girl, so I'm not worried. We met at a strategic spot in our village. This was in South India. It was a village that, India is like an ice cream cone. So if you poke through the middle of the cone, you would have hit our village. And we had one street water tap, 1/8 of a mile apart, and 3 to 4 every afternoon, we got water. If we didn't fill up then we wouldn't have water for the next 24 hours. Therefore, the chosen ones, I do not mean any offense, but the chosen ones in this case were the 5 and 6-year-olds because you had to wait in line with the buckets. And so I was waiting in line with the bucket. I was 6-year-old. And then when my turn came and I took the empty bucket, which was quite heavy for me, and I filled it up, I'm afraid it was beyond my ability. And then I looked around helplessly, and there were another pair of very lean hands lifting up the bucket with me. And I didn't even look at his face because he was taller, and we carried it together to my home. And then he said, come back, because we have to bring my bucket. So we came back, and we took it back, and that was the beginning of our bond. Krish was so thin that much later, when this Euclid guy, I studied his geometry, I thought if he was in a restaurant and if he saw him sideways, he would tell his friend, don't look now. But that's what I meant by saying a point has only one dimension. The kid disappeared on the thing, and yet he was the strongest of some 8 or 10 kids, us, who roamed around the village and the forest and so on, because our parents completely trusted. How can you go wrong in a place where there is no drugs, no crime, nothing at all, in fact. So they said, come back for food, but then you can do whatever else, and we did whatever else. And to tell, I'll call him Krish because it's an easy name. It's a long name, Basavarajappa. When I heard that this was old friends, I said, what a divine coincidence. I've been thinking about him. This is worth coming 3 hours and 3 minutes, and this is worth asking Paul to drive. Thank you, Paul. You are a good friend. And so what happened was that other things, he was a kid who didn't seem to gloat on his glory, whatever the glory. Once it was pouring down rain. There were a lot of large fields. There were very few homes and large fields. And we were playing tennis ball soccer. Try sometime. you have to have very small feet. And even then, very accurate aim, because my second toe, which I'm not willing to show it to you unless for a fee, it is broken because my brother, who was 13 and I was 7, we both thought we were kicking at the ball. We kicked at each other's foot. His foot was much stronger than. He has forever been guilty with me, and thank God I have taken advantage of it all through. Now, my friend Krish, was dared, some nasty friend of ours, as we ran out of a pouring rain, he shouted out saying, "Krish, I dare you, you will not be able to stand in that rain for the full rain." Krish just stood and stood and stood. The water poured down, and when the whole thing was over, and it was not raining, he walked back as though nothing happened. And the thing is, the kid, how bloody mature, he didn't gloat, he didn't look at him and said, "See," he just wanted to say, it can be done. He was a kind boy, he was strong, he could do so many things that I pipsqueak. You see, if you are lean, you must be at least tall. The world can at least see your face. If you're small and short, I think God has it in for you. And that's what I was, pipsqueak. And then it turned out that our village, you see, our neighboring town, which was a factory town, had electrical power, running water, underground sewage. Do you have them? Underground sewage, paved streets. Anything you name, we didn't have it, our village. Therefore, we were completely free. British were so enlightened colonialists. They said we shouldn't spoil Indians with all these modern things. Therefore, they had given us none of this stuff. And therefore, we were completely free to do whatever we wanted, you can imagine, without any of the upper. And in the only place we could study with electric lights for examinations was the temple, because gods need light, And therefore, we would go there 1 month before the examination, 10 of us with rolls, bed rolls, and then we are very guilty. We want to do well because we are poor church mouse. They don't know anything about poverty compared to us. We were very poor, and everybody in the family depended on us to become bigger and better and all that stuff. And there were electric lights there, and we studied there, and the bell is going on, and I have to move on fast. And then what happened, as time went on, final year of high school, we passed, and I didn't have the train fare, but the best college in the state, which was free, admitted me. I went there, I finished my 4 years, and then my friend Krish wrote to me, "I failed." That is, in American, it's flunked. So he said, I failed. I said, "What happened? You got first class?" And he said, "My college was absolutely lousy." I knew that. That's why we went there, even though we were orphaned. And he said, "Would you please send the notes that you took, and I will do justice to you." And I sent it, and he got 4 months later, he got first class, and I was so happy. And then life went on. Thing about old friends is they're not like old wine. You don't want to keep them in cellar to drink some other day. They're like smartphones. You have to keep them touching at regular frequency. We did not. We exchange letters. Somebody in the behind says, "What is a letter?" Yes, there used to be things called letters. And all this happened. And then 60 years later, because 30 seconds more, a knock on the door. I have gone back from here after 50 years. And for 20 years, we were running schools for slum children. And he comes and somebody comes and knocks on the door, and I open, and I am pretty bad at faces, but this I recognize. I said, "Krish, are you still alive?" That's not a politic thing to say. He said, "Well, I wanted to ask you the same thing." So when I knocked on the door, I didn't know what. And he comes in with wife and 3 children. We have a great time. We are absolutely joyful. And then they leave. And when they go out, his wife says, "Oh, I forgot." And he rushes back in. And she says, "He didn't want to tell you, but he has terminal cancer. And he wanted to see you. I didn't want to embarrass him by going and crying on his shoulder. But thank you for old friends. Gives me a chance to remember this beautiful boy. Character grows in any pond, and he grew in a small village, became a chief accountant, became a whistleblower, and when he was to be given a reward, he said, "I was paid a salary to do this. I don't want a reward." Lovely guy. Thank you.